You should have an option to choose between French in the menu that opens. So en français, si vous préférez écouter en français, vous pouvez appuyer sur le bouton Simultaneous Interpretation.
If you'd rather listen in English, you should click on the bottom. You should have the option to choose between English and French in the menu.
You're also welcome to ask questions in English or French, depending on your preference. And additionally, please note that today's session is being recorded. The recordings will appear in an on-demand section of the conference platform tomorrow, along with the last session we had in case you missed it. We'll go to the next slide, please. So, as you can tell, this is a series, and this is a three-part series that is focused on providing useful knowledge about the very beginning of a sustainable project to the very end. And in that sense, the first webinar that we had already would focus on sort of building a strong business case for these types of projects. The second one, the one that we're in today, is from transitioning those sort of studies and pilots into full-on capital projects. We'll have a third one coming up towards the end of the month that will be looking on maintaining a project's success over time. And today and in all these sessions, we are featuring projects from across the country, mixing rural and urban communities in key areas such as water, energy, and affordable housing, among others. Next slide, please. So again, welcome to everyone, and we're really happy they're able to join. As I mentioned, my name is Patrick Keough. I'm a programs advisor for FCM, Federation of Canadian Municipalities. So likely many of you know, but we are a nonprofit organization. We act as the national voice for municipal governments in Canada, and we operate a variety of funding and education programs that help increase sustainability in communities across the country and ultimately to enhance the quality of life for residents. This includes a number of green initiatives, programs on women in government, climate protection, international development, and many more. It also includes our largest program, the Green Municipal Fund, which is a roughly $1.6 billion program funded through the Government of Canada that provides funding and capacity building resources for municipalities to undertake sustainable projects in a variety of sectors. Next slide, please. So building on this Green Municipal Fund, I'm going to just give you a little quick snapshot of kind of our funding and our different sectors and how that works before we get into the presentations today. So I find it best to present it in terms of sort of these four different buckets. Our first one being what we refer to as GMF core funding. This is what maybe many of you are familiar with. It's our traditional funding offer that has been around for some form or another for the last 20 years. Under our core offer, we provide funding for plans, feasibility studies, pilot projects, and capital projects in a wide array of sectors. So you see there energy, waste, transportation, brownfields. So this could be things like completing a feasibility study to assess how you can optimize your municipal fleet to be cost effective while reducing GHG emissions. Or maybe you're piloting an innovative wastewater treatment technique to buy down some of that initial risk and evaluate in real world conditions before you move to scaling it up to full use. Or maybe you're looking to go do a capital project, constructing on the expansion of an existing district energy systems that uses recovered energy to lower your emissions again. So that's just three examples of many variations that can be there. I encourage you to look at fcm.ca/funding to learn more about the many opportunities that we do provide. So that's our core funding. And just quickly, as a part of Budget 2019, FCM received nearly $1 billion in further investment from the federal government for 3 new funding initiatives. They're all within the energy sector. So quickly, our first one is called our Community Efficiency Financing Program. It focuses on supporting the development of programs that use innovative funding mechanisms like property assessed clean energy or on-bill financing to allow residents to assess and implement energy retrofits on their homes with the savings in those costs used to pay back the initial capital investments or removing those barriers. Just yesterday, we launched our standing offer for this funding initiative and is now open on a continuous intake. So check it out. Our second spin-off program involves 2 components to it. The first being a collaboration with Low Carbon Cities Canada, or LC3. and it's in the process of setting up 7 small GMF-style funds for larger metropolitan centers around Canada. So some of you may have heard of the Atmospheric Fund in Toronto. It's sort of building on that model for 7 large centers. The second half of this will be what we're calling our community building retrofit stream, which will be launching this spring. And it'll be focused primarily on community-facing buildings, so think arenas and swimming pools and community centers, and how to lower emissions in those buildings. Finally, we have our Sustainable Affordable Housing Initiative. It was launched just under a year ago, and it's designed to provide municipal and nonprofit affordable housing providers with access to funding and resources that can lower energy use and improve the conditions within Canada's aging affordable housing stock. So there's a quick run through. Again, I encourage you to reach out to us directly or visit the website to learn a bit more. Next slide, please. So just a little housekeeping again before we get into it. So each of our presenters today have prepared approximately a 7-minute presentation to share with you. We're going to run through each presentation one after the other, and then use our remaining time for a discussion and question and answer period. You're welcome to ask questions through the chat box during the presentation. The FCM team will keep an eye out for any clarification of those questions or any other key items that we should address before the end of the session. Once all the presenters have gone, we'll have some time left in the workshop for the discussion period, as I mentioned. Please keep your microphone muted during the presentation. This will help ensure there's no disruptions for our presenters. I'd also recommend that you use active speaker view during the presentations by clicking view in the top right-hand corner so that you can focus on the presenter rather than the whole gallery of participants. Lastly, a reminder again that if you prefer to listen in French, you can select the simultaneous interpretation button at the bottom of your screen and choose the French channel to hear the interpreter over the main audio. Same thing if you prefer to listen in English during the French speaking presentation. You just select the English channel. Next slide. So here now, all that's out of the way, we can start the fun stuff, and it's really my pleasure to introduce our moderator today, Megan Lohman. Megan has been working in the field of climate and energy for 15 years, engaging with local government, industry, public, and First Nations on innovative local solutions to support the transition to low carbon communities. She is passionate about designing and implementing high impact initiatives by unlocking unique, effective collaboration between public and private sectors. Megan's focus for the past 4 years has been managing major projects that employ a new approach to electric mobility infrastructure and connecting key markets across rural regions in Western Canada. Megan is the head of Community Energy Management for the Community Energy Association. She co-chairs the BC Electric Vehicle Local Government Peer Network, is a member of the BC Energy Step Code Council, and is a fellow with the Energy Futures Lab in Alberta. Megan was also recently elected as a board member to the Electric Mobility Canada Board of Directors. And lastly, I've known Megan for a few years now, and she's just absolutely wonderful to deal with and brings so many awesome projects out this way. So without further ado, I'm going to pass over to you, Megan.
Awesome. Thanks so much, Patrick. Yeah, and it's really my pleasure to be here moderating this panel today. I'm a big fan of obviously taking plans to implementation, and the stories you'll hear today will certainly be inspiring. So welcome, bienvenue, kusik wiknam, which is good morning in Tanaha language, which is the traditional territory that I'm joining here today from. If you're so inclined, I invite you to add to the chat the traditional territory that you are joining in from today. We have representatives across Canada, and we certainly represent many different territories. I've provided a map here of the Tanaha Amakas, or the Tanaha territory, where I'm calling from, southeastern BC, the town of Fernie. And if you're curious, whose.land is a great resource to find out where you are in Canada. But yes, please enter the territory into the chat, and we can get a good sense of where you are today. I wanted to just mention some of the work that I've been doing with the Tanaha Nation and there we go, and really highlight as part of the project that I'll speak very briefly to, called Accelerate Kootenays, the collaboration that we were able to forge with the Tanaha Nation. The photos on the slide there are of the opening event of 119 solar panel installation on their government building in Cranbrook, which was associated with a level 2 charger located right on their grounds, really tying together the story of the original energy source being solar with new emerging technologies. Really an honor to be part of that project and to see that leadership from our First Nation communities. So today we will hear a few other stories about implementation, and you can go ahead to the next slide. We've got 3 incredible presenters today: Marie-Pierre Paquette, Tara Tran, and Glenda Holmes. They'll each, in quite a challenge, have a 7-minute Pechakucha style presentation, which is no easy feat to compile such incredible story into a quick presentation. And then there will be an opportunity for you as participants to ask questions. If questions do come up throughout the presentation, feel free to put them into the chat. The FCM staff will be compiling those, and we'll try and address some of them in the question period at the end. Before I hand it over to them, though, I'll just give you a quick 2-minute overview of the project that Patrick referred to, Accelerate Kootenays. This was an initiative that actually was awarded the Visionary Award at the Sustainability Communities Conference this fall. So I had the opportunity to present in a lot more detail at that conference, which is all online on YouTube under FCM's channel. So feel free to get more information there. But the quick highlight of the initiative, it was one that started really as a big idea, a big vision of the regional districts of East Kootenay, Central Kootenay, Kootenay Boundary, and the Highway 3 Mayors and Chairs Coalition. And the idea was to transition the entire Kootenay region from one of low electric vehicle charging connectivity to a fully connected network that would support tourism and economic development. Go ahead with the next slide. What we started with was this map of southeastern BC, which had 0 fast charging infrastructure across the entire region. Yet we had access to both drivable markets on the lower mainland in British Columbia and in Alberta, with Calgary close by. And so the intent was to work collaboratively with the regional districts, with public and private funding, and fill the gap. Next slide. And we did just that over about 4 years. You may have to click forward again, it's animated. We were able to deploy 13 fast charging stations and over 45 level 2 stations, which are now all operational, and led to an incredible opportunity for local residents to adopt EVs and for electric vehicle tourists to now access our region. The number of vehicles registered in the region went from about 20 when we started the project to over 200 by the time the last station was installed, and that number continues to climb. Next slide. We were really thrilled with the opportunity to engage and inform many different sectors of our region. We engaged youth with school programs and inviting them to come and learn about technology. Next slide. We tried to tackle some of the myths about electric vehicle transportation in cold weather, working with local mountaineers. We've got Greg Hill here charging up at the pass outside of Revelstoke, which once was a barrier to EV travel. And now, now you're able to drive up there and ski even in the coldest of climates. Next slide. And all of this was really anchored by the incredible collaboration between the regional districts, the funders, the partners that helped deploy the network, and of course, Green Municipal Fund being one of those key partners that unlocked the opportunity for our region and for the Accelerate Kootenay success. So that was the really quick couple-minute overview of the initiative, and yeah, happy to chat further about it if anyone's curious about how this could happen in your rural area. But without further ado, I would like to introduce our speakers, and And our first up is Marie-Pierre Paquette. So she is a project manager, part of the City of Plessisville's senior management team and a director of the Residence Services Department. She's a communications professional and is responsible for research and coordination of Plessisville's participation in public and private grant programs, as well as special projects emanating from the municipal administration. As a director of resident services, she oversees the organization and implementation of recreational, sports, cultural, tourist, and community activities that meet the needs of citizens, as well as projects emanating from the communications department. And this is just one more reminder that Marie-Pierre will be presenting in French. So for those that are not bilingual, please feel free to now switch to the English channel for that interpretation. So I will hand it over to Marie-Pierre for her presentation. There we go.
Thank you, Megan. Merci.
Thank you, Megam, and thank you to FCM for giving us the opportunity to share our experience with municipalities across the country. So I'm here to tell you about the innovative financing for efficient municipalities pilot project. But before I begin, let me tell you the story of the Nadeau family. The Nadeau family owns a single family home like so many in Quebec. It was built in the 50s. It has an oil-fired system that costs a fortune in the winter. The walls of its foundation are not insulated, and air infiltrations cause the family's heating needs to skyrocket. After checking their eligibility with the city, Nadeau's met with Renault Climat and Ecohabitation for an energy efficiency evaluation of their home. They received a renovation plan that allowed them to go out and look for quotes for renovation contracts. Once they'd chosen the gem, they made their official loan application to the program in Plessisville. The Nadeaus get a commitment from the city for a $17,000 loan. Now they are ready to incur the expense of installing a heat pump, insulating their basement from the inside, and sealing out the opening in their home. The interest rate of 1%, the repayment period of up to 20 years, and the energy savings that will be made will allow the family to control their budget without any problem. With these improvements, their home will quickly increase in value. What if they want to sell it soon? No problem. Since the loan is granted by the house, the next owner will continue to pay it back from the property tax, and in turn will benefit from the energy savings resulting from the renovations. IFM was created to help families like the Nadeau family in Plessisville. Many houses were built in the 50s and are therefore energy inefficient. To reduce greenhouse gases in the community, the city has chosen to offer its residents with IFM low interest loans of up to $20,000 repayable over a maximum of 20 years through municipal taxes. The project was carried in 3 stages. First of all, there was a concept study carried out in 2013. Then there's they submitted a request to FCM in 2015 for financial support for a pilot project. The pilot project ended in 2017, marking the beginning of the program's sustainability phase. For homeowners and for the city, the advantages of IFM are numerous. Simplified access to low-interest investment capital, less financial pressure to repay the loan, an increase in the value of the house, a personalized support service, improved quality of life for participants, and finally, a reduction in GHGs in the home and by extension in the city. The results of the pilot project allowed us to observe higher gains than initially expected, including an average energy reduction of 40% per home, an average reduction in electricity bill of 32% or $1,177, a decrease of 1.37 tons of CO2 equivalent per renovated home. The success behind IFM is based on 3 factors that I will call the 3 Ps. Preparation is the key. Then the presence of quality partners is crucial to take the project further. Third, thinking simple is fundamental to the success of a pilot project and its sustainability. The first success factor is our excellent preparation. Plessisville, we have paved the way for eco-responsible project by setting up our own green fund to finance our green initiatives. We have also integrated a sustainable development focus in our 2015-2025 strategic plan. We therefore had a lot of room with our elected officials to embark on such a project. We also have developed easily measurable performance indicators so that we can evaluate the project's results and readjust the focus if necessary. Finally, we made sure that from the outset that IFM met a well-documented need by establishing a profile of our real estate stock and cross-referencing it with the demographic profile of our population. The importance of having a good partner is the second success factor. We developed IFM in collaboration with the Association Québécoise pour la maîtrise de la promoter of the pilot project, and Eco Habitation, a firm of professionals in energy efficient renovation, and with the cities of Varennes and Verchères. This teamwork ensured that the project met the needs of all the stakeholders. We have good partners within our organization as well. In Plessisville, the organization's chart is circular rather than hierarchical, encouraging the participation of all employees in decision making. From the inspector to the general manager, all internal stakeholders have been able to give their opinion, so the administrative management of IFM runs smoothly. To illustrate our third success factor, I would borrow this English expression that our team is really fond of: the simpler, the better. Thus, citizens must see from the outset the concrete benefits of impacts of involvement in the project. Also, to encourage the population to voluntarily reduce the community's carbon footprint, proposed project must be easy to understand and implement. This simplicity must also be reflected in our processes. We made sure that IFM fits into the existing municipal structure based on the competencies of the municipality and its internal administrative function. This has inevitably resulted in less stress for citizens and less loss of time for our employees. The success of IFM obviously leads us to want to perpetuate the formula in the future. After the pilot project, we continue to support citizens in their energy efficient renovation efforts until the beginning of 2020. We are confident that we will relaunch IFM this year as the City Council has earmarked funds for this purpose. In addition, IFM's good results have prompted us to develop a complementary offer for our population. Since 2018, people who wish to build an eco-responsible home in our community have access to the Plessisville Habitation Durable Plus subsidy program. This program was first launched by Victoriaville, an inspiration from the good work done in other cities that can be very profitable. For the past few months, we've also been working on a new local financial assistance program aimed at ensuring the sustainability of residential buildings that are depreciating and whose survival depends on urgent renovation. This program is meant to be a last resort for renovation, so there's a repair for a leaking roof, cracked foundation, or anything else. In short, IFM makes little ones, and that's good. In fact, this project has transformed the relationship that Plessisville has with its citizens. In the eyes of IFM participants, Plessisville is much more than a service provider. It is a partner committed to the success of the project. I hope that you too, dear colleagues for the municipal sector, will embark on this shift, the benefits of which go far beyond the environmental framework.
Merci beaucoup, Marie-Pierre.
Thank you very much, Marie-Pierre.
Great lessons learned. We're going to pass it over to Tara Tran now. Tara is a senior planner at the City of Brantford, Ontario. The City of Brantford is a 3-time recipient of the Canadian Urban Institute Brownie Award, so in 2003, 2014, and 2016, which recognizes successful brownfield projects. For the last 11 years, Tara has overseen the large-scale remediation of the municipal-owned Greenwich Mohawk site in Brantford, a project that has been profiled in several industry publications. She believes that robust public communication with local community members and stakeholders is a large part of successful brownfield projects. Tara is a longtime member of the Federation of Canadian Municipalities Leadership in Brownfields Renewal Program. And I'll pass it over to you, Tara.
Thanks, Megan. The project I'm sharing with you today is one of those legacy projects. In our case, it's 20 years. For some of you, you may be in the middle, or just starting your 20-year project. In others, you might be in the middle of it. Through this presentation, I hope to share tips on how to sustain your progress and make it to that finish line. My 12 years experience working for the City of Brantford's Greenwich Mohawk project has highlighted two key strategies that contributed to our success. First, we had project champions representing each area of involvement. Second, we had open and honest dialogue, even with people who yelled or screamed their opposition. It wasn't easy, but we kept talking to them, and it was important to do that. A bit of background on this project. Like many places, we have older industrial sites that are vacant for decades. For most brownfields, the owners stop paying taxes, they become informal garbage dumps and a place for vandalism. There were a series of fires at the site, and when there are barrels of who knows what all over, this is a problem you can't ignore. For the first 5 years, we were figuring out who was responsible. After several failed tax sales, the city accepted ownership, but we convinced both the province and the federal government that they should pitch in money. The argument, these companies contributed to the national economy back in the day. Why should only the municipalities suffer the cleanup costs? The next 5 years was trying to find private sector partners to help the city remediate and redevelop the site. But after several failed attempts, the city decided to take on the remediation ourselves. We hired a remediation contractor to take on this large-scale project. 74% of the soil was treated on-site, the rest disposed of off-site. We had to deal with 25% more contamination than we estimated. Ultimately, the city spent $41 million, of which $17 million came from the federal government, $5 million from the provincial government, and we applied for a Green Municipal Fund loan to cover the rest. So the first success strategy was that we had project champions representing all areas of involvement. The first were local citizens of the neighborhood who helped to mobilize initial action, and over time, they helped share information with their fellow citizens to promote the benefits of addressing this environmental hazard. Another champion was our political leadership. The local ward councillor made sure the issue didn't fall off council's radar, and she advocated for funding. We invited then Prime Minister Paul Martin to tour the site, and in all the photos, you can see Councillor Chesky Smith right there talking his ear off. That's what you have to do to get money, right? And lastly, our technical and municipal staff, me and many others who did the grunt work over all those 20 years. We had to implement the program, overcome each new hurdle, and make sure the project got done. These project champions at all levels were key to sustaining progress through this prolonged project. Now for the second success strategy. We had open and honest dialogue with people who were impacted, even when it wasn't easy to do. One day I had 40 phone calls and even more emails with complaints. Angry folks who had questions and concerns. Naturally, I wanted to stop answering the phone that day. And the reason for their complaints was this. During the remediation program, we were finding a lot of oil. Think of that smell. Think of it extra thick and extra dark. The smell was released when we opened up the site and discovered that bunker fuel oil had been historically dumped over many years. We were cleaning it up, and that was a good thing, but that didn't mean the smell didn't cause unintentional nuisance. People started complaining of headaches, nausea, and difficulty breathing. They couldn't sleep at night, they couldn't go outside, and so this was bad. And even if our monitoring said it wasn't harmful, it still wasn't acceptable. My hardest and most valuable complaint came from Mary. She could shame a cowboy with her foul language. After the third phone call, when I couldn't even get a word in, I was fed up, but I knew she was fed up too. How would you handle a really angry person who makes it hard to even talk to her? Well, I decided I would visit Mary at her house, and she yelled and screamed at me, this time in person. But when she was done, we talked about how nice her garden was. And then we said goodbye and talked to you later. And after that, Mary and I talked almost every week until the project was finished. I respected her concerns, and she respected that I listened, like really listened. So the second strategy is really important to these longer projects that don't have easy solutions. People want to be heard and to know that we accept their critiques and concerns. At first, we tried to say long-term gain, short-term pain. But while cleaning up the site was a good thing, People shouldn't have to suffer in the process. So we ended up putting the project on hold for a few months. And we said, you're right, we have to try harder. And we did. We implemented many new odor controls and different digging practices. We did most of our work in the winter. We had hourly odor checks, and we used industrial air fresheners like the one you see in this photo. And it worked. We finished the project a few months behind, but we finished, and with the residents applauding and happy with the outcome. I spoke at an engineering conference a year later. A comment made to me was, they were impressed that I acknowledged the complaints, because many would have ignored them and kept going because cleaning up the oil was the priority. I'm an urban planner by profession, and incorporating citizen feedback is expected. So that comment helped me realize how important this second strategy is. And facing conflict doesn't mean there has to be a bad outcome. There's still progress in facing that conflict and allowing it to happen. So once again, the two key strategies that worked for us were that we had project champions representing each area of involvement, and we had open and honest dialogue and room for conflict too. We needed champions at every level to make sure the project got done. And we needed the open and honest dialogue to make sure that people didn't block the project simply because they felt neglected or that their concerns didn't matter. It's a little hard to show this last photo of this site. It is a remediated brown field, but it basically looks like that, a brown field. The next stage of the project is the redevelopment, and I'd encourage you to click on the link below to see conceptual images on how we envision that next stage. That next project is likely to be another 20-year legacy project, but now we know how to ensure that we continue to make progress over the long term. Thanks for having me.
Incredible. Thank you, Tara. I appreciate a long-term vision, and 20 years is long for sure. I just want to remind folks that you can put questions into the chat for anything you've heard so far from Marie-Pierre or Tara, and we'll transition to our final presentation from Glenda Holmes. So Glenda is the Waterworks Manager for the Environmental Services Department of the City of Yorkton. Glenda is responsible for the water treatment plant facility and all relevant functions from well sources to the final output supply of clean, potable water for the city. Glenda has been a member of the city's management team since 2007 and continues to fulfill this vital role for the City of Yorkton. Over to you, Glenda.
Thank you. The City of Yorkton is located in East Central Saskatchewan, in the middle of one of the largest and richest potash fields in Saskatchewan. It is a center for food processing with 2 canola crushing plants, plus grain and meat processing. In 2004, work began to upgrade the water treatment system to accommodate the city's future demands. Construction began on the Yorkton water treatment plant in 2007. It is capable of producing 22 million liters of potable water and produces 1 million liters of filter backwash wastewater per day. During pre-design, the issue of backwash water treatment and disposal was discussed, with various options being evaluated. The City of Yorkton and the Federation of Canadian Municipalities entered into a jointly funded study. The study assessed the feasibility of cleaning and reusing the backwash water produced from the water treatment process rather than discharging it into the city's near capacity wastewater treatment plant, and also looking at ways to make the most of the green space available on site. The objective of the study was to identify and confirm the viability of a long-term, cost-effective, and environmentally responsible system to treat, dispose of, and reuse water generated from the filter backwashing at the water treatment plant. Another objective was to reduce the necessity of overloading the existing wastewater treatment plant with the backwash water. To achieve the study objectives, the city included widespread community involvement along with professional services. We maximized community involvement by including numerous special interest community groups and following the direction of our professional planners, engineers, and hydrogeologists. The study concept was developed over several meetings with the numerous participants listed. The objective of the kickoff meeting was to confirm the study concept with special interest groups and numerous staff from various city departments. Subsequent meetings defined the concept. It was agreed that the concept needed to be simple, robust, and environmentally friendly. The first meeting resulted in the following wants and needs being identified: gravity sedimentation ponds, wetlands to polish the pond effluent, infiltration to artificially recharge the aquifer, construction of sports fields, and a public education component. The processed backwash water is treated through a series of settlement ponds and wetlands to purify it before recharging the aquifer. There are also dry bottom detention ponds that join the stream prior to entering the trout pond. These were developed to help with storm management. We call this the Logan Green Water Management System. The project includes 210 acres of green space, as well as a stream, a fish pond, and a natural pathway connecting the settlement ponds to the aquifer recharge area. Additionally, 6 multifunction sports fields were built using fill from the settling pond system and the water treatment plant construction. The system begins with 2 settlement ponds, then moves into a discharge pond that releases water into the wetlands, which were designed to mimic a natural stream, and then flows into the fish pond. Planning included the design of an additional fish pond to be constructed to accommodate any future expansion at the water treatment plant. There is approximately 5 kilometers of pathways that wind through the green space. The paths are constructed of aggregate crusher dust and are used year-round by our residents. The pathway was designated part of the Great Trail or the Trans-Canada Trail. We added eco buffers, including a variety of native shrubs and trees to enhance the area. The process is simple, virtually maintenance-free, and environmentally friendly. It also provides the community with a space full of native plants, wildlife, and fish. Capital costs were 1/3 that of a conventional backwash water treatment system, and operational costs could be in the range of $6 million over the life of the plant. 6 multifunction sports fields and a parking area were constructed on the west side of the Logan Green area. The sports fields are irrigated using an existing well that was on site, and currently this space has been further developed and is used by our local soccer associations. Environmentally, we have a small carbon footprint due to the natural treatment concept. The walking paths and the fish pond have proven very popular with our residents. Again, $3 million was saved on infrastructure by using the settlement pond process. Savings in treatment and maintenance over the life of the plant could be in excess of $6 million. The backwash recovery system helps manage stormwater. It also recharges local aquifers and reduces the volume of wastewater going to the wastewater treatment plant. It also provides wildlife habitat, a green space, and a trout pond for the community's enjoyment. The project involved widespread stakeholder and community consultation. Through strong management provided by the city's Environmental Services Department, the project was divided into 2 phases. One consisted of the settling ponds, wetlands, the trout pond, and the recharge area, and the second consisted of the sporting fields and the walking paths. Various organizations provided important elements to the project. These included the development of the sporting fields, the development of the stormwater detention ponds, development of habitat landscaping, public education component, a stream construction, and pond outlet structure development. The fish pond was originally stocked with rainbow trout fingerling in 2014, with additional fingerlings and a few broodstock added in subsequent years. As you can see, they are thriving in this environment and provide enjoyment through the summer as a favorite catch and release fishing destination for locals and visitors alike. In summary, the project began with the study in 2007 and included extensive stakeholder involvement. It was endorsed by the residents and representatives of organizations within the city and approved by City Council. Construction of earthworks began in 2011 and completed in 2012. This is an overview view of the Logan Green Water Management System today. We are very proud of the outcome of this project and the numerous partnerships that were forged and remain active today. I would like to note that this project was the recipient of 5 major awards, including the FCM Sustainable Communities Award in 2013. Thank you for the opportunity of presenting.
Thank you so much, Glenda, and thank you to all of our presenters for well, sticking within the time limit and delivering such inspiring stories. So again, if anyone has questions, please enter those into the chat. I think what we'll do is go through each of our speakers with a couple questions to get us started. Marie-Pierre, I have one for you en français, so I will do my best. Combien de temps a été nécessaire pour mettre
How
sur...
long was it necessary to start the Green Fund, and what were the challenges that you had? In fact, for us, the Green Fund is an initiative that goes back to 2014. It's been 7 years that we have our own Green Fund. This was started by saving what we get for garbage removal. So we get money from the government. This is put in the Green Fund, and then we can finance our green projects. And with IFM, the money that we put in this will get back to us because it's a citizen project. So these are great initiatives that we've had for the last 7 years. And we have about $1 million year by year. And this is great for a small town such as Plessisville. Thank you.
A question for Tara. Wondering about managing environmental issues for the surrounding river habitat and whether ongoing monitoring has been put in place and conducted. Maybe we'll just start with those.
Sure. During the remediation program, we did a lot of perimeter monitoring to make sure everything would be sound. And we actually already had an interceptor trench where we knew that groundwater flowed potentially off the property. But we reinforced that with permanent structures now that the remediation is done. So there are 2 permanent structures. Again, the interceptor trench was repaired and made sure to be in good working order, and then additional geomembrane liner was applied to reinforce that. And then we actually have a existing rail spur that bisects the site, and that continues to operate. So we actually implemented a permanent concrete barrier wall, 180 meters the extent of where we knew contamination existed. And so basically there is a concrete wall underground that is going to be in place forever. So those structures help to ensure that there is ongoing protection, and then there's ongoing monitoring as well.
Great, thank you. And I should mention there's lots of positive comments on all 3 projects in the chat if you haven't caught those about each of your projects. So Glenda, I'll go to you, and I'll probably ask the others to also answer this, but I'm curious how your study helped to advance the climate actions and sustainability strategies of your municipality. So, how did this project elevate and progress those commitments that you may have made as a municipality? Glenda, I'll start with you.
For sure. Our study is a really good example of what the city of Yorkton strategic plan is based on. We look for a healthy community, sustainable infrastructure, economic development, community development, environmental awareness, education and governance and communication. And this study, this project is an excellent example of all of that.
Great, Marie-Pierre, do you have something to add to that?
Oui, je dirais que pour nous à Plessisville,
Anything to add? In Plessisville, what IFM allowed us to do is to have our strategy go to a different level. We concentrate on the corporate reduction of emissions, but we didn't really start on the community level. But IFM allowed us with the pilot project to really make the community participate. And so they really joined our efforts against climate change.
I know that brownfield development sometimes doesn't always reflect directly to sustainability and climate action goals, but I'm curious if in this case that was an
Sure.
opportunity to advance some of those.
In the end, we ended up using very sustainable techniques during our remediation program. So as I noted, 74% of the soil was treated on site, which meant that we could reuse the soil instead of just digging and dumping it. And we used a technique called bioremediation. So that meant that oil was broken down naturally through a bacterial process. So that allowed us to keep the soil on site. And then we also used a new product called Oil Stick, which more or less is like rubber tires with an absorption material, and that collected the oil that I showed images of. And we're told by the manufacturer of Oil Stick that that could actually be used as biofuel. In our case, we did not end up going that route, but for others who want to try it, it's another sustainable remediation technique.
Fascinating. Marie-Pierre, or maybe Patrick might want to chime in, but there was a question about whether, so I guess in Ontario with the Municipal Act, it does not permit municipalities to loan funds. So how is this an issue in Quebec? And if not, perhaps there's a perspective from FCM that can be shared. Marie-Pierre, do you have a...
Oui, c'est une question intéressante qui nous est posée.
Yes, this is an interesting question, and people ask it frequently. There's no actual answer as of now. In fact, when we asked for the pilot project for IFM, we got legal advice that said that nothing would prevent such an initiative to go forward, because it's a loan for the property owners. So this worked well, but I know we don't have any clear answer whether it's in the act or not to allow this kind of financing. So we hope that this year it will be dealt with. I know a lot of municipalities are working on it.
Well, just to clarify, so asking if municipalities can loan funds themselves. Yeah. Unfortunately, I can't lend any more information to that specifically for Ontario.
Oh, good. Okay, Glenda, curious, and again from all panelists, but we'll start with you, Glenda. And this is a tough one to answer in a minute or less, but wondering about the process for scaling up, really going from that study to implementation. Maybe you can identify 3 key points around what that process was for your initiative.
Okay, our project was started a long time before it actually got underway. So we, as a city, had substantial money put away to help finance this in reserve. And the project, once we did some investigation, it showed that there was some significant cost sharing resources available through federal and provincial sources, including the Green Municipal Fund. And in order for us to maximize all these grants, we also did construction of the Logan Green water management system in different phases so that we could take advantage of the additional funding in all of those different areas.
Great. And Tara, same question, and I know summarizing a 20-year initiative and talking about scaling up over that long time frame, how would you summarize your process?
Yeah. We did have to do a lot of initial small scale projects to make sure that we were definitely ready when we needed to go full scale. And we were fortunate enough to have Green Municipal Funds offer us grant programs to support those the pilot studies. So we did 2 pilot studies to test remediation technology. One was a study on steam enhanced extraction, the idea of injecting steam underground to mobilize the oil and then to draw it up to the surface. And then in that way, the oil might actually be also reused. This was through a Dutch firm. And we ended up finding that that project was not cost effective for us, and the technology was still very new. The second pilot project was on the bioremediation technique, so allowing us to just confirm what sort of techniques and additives we needed to have in place to make sure that the bioremediation would take place in the time frame we needed it to happen. And that was successful and allowed us to then know exactly what to do when we needed to make it a large scale project. So the grant programs were excellent in facilitating that work, and all the results that we have are available on FCM's website.
Great. Marie-Pierre, do you have any comments on scaling up your project?
Pour nous, ça s'est fait quand même assez naturellement.
For us, this was done naturally when the pilot project was done in 2017. We still have money at the city to continue and finance the citizenships requests. So this was done naturally with the funds that were left over. We continue with the same recipe that we had. So this allowed us to go from the pilot project to the durability steps.
The importance of that initial pilot phase, working with, I mean, it was invaluable having FCM feedback early on in the project to understand what the opportunities could be for scaling up. And I think that's a unique, having gone through GMF and MSIF with FCM several times, really the value of working with staff to get that clear kind of build out of your project is incredible, and very much unlike other funding agencies that I've experienced anyway, in terms of that collaboration from the start. Okay, perhaps we'll do one more here. We just have a couple of minutes, but there's one being highlighted here for Marie-Pierre. This is another challenge for me. It's good. C'est intéressant de voir les...
It's interesting to see the experiences from other municipalities. Would it be possible to have an idea of the kind of width of the project?
Il y a eu plusieurs phases, comme je vous disais, il y a eu une étude concept, ensuite un projet pilote.
We started with a pilot project, and the budget that we invested was spread out over different phases. We invested $5,000 at the beginning, and for the pilot, the pilot project, it was $200,000. We also got other money from other partners, so I believe, I don't know exactly what the total amount is, but I put my email address in the chat box if you want to send me an email. Thanks.
30 seconds from Tara. What's next? What's the next step for your project?
Sure. We're calling the area now Mohawk Lake District because its proximity to existing man-made lake called Mohawk Lake and a historical canal that had industrial purpose at the time, so Mohawk Canal. So we have a new vision for the site. It's going to be a culture and community destination to integrate into the existing fabric, and it will include potentially a large event space as well as a new main street, and really attract a mixed use development, including residential and commercial and some institutional facilities. So the idea here is that invested so much into this area, and it's a real community asset, and there's a lot of cultural heritage and natural heritage in that area that we hope to enhance. We have some really beautiful conceptual drawings. So if you go to Mohawk Lake District Plan, that's where you can find what we envision for the next stage.
Awesome. And Glenda, you've done incredible work as well. And I think people have appreciated the all of those efforts, but do you have a vision for what's next in 30 seconds or less?
We're just carrying on with what we've got here. Of course, if we have to expand the plant, we'll be adding on to what's already out there. We use the same process because it's working very well. Like I said, very little maintenance. Everything's working good so far. So we would just carry on the same as we are.
Awesome. Great. So with that, thank you so much to the audience for your great questions and for joining the webinar today, and to our incredible presenters with their stories. I think the links to their projects have been provided in the chat. And of course, feel free to follow up if you'd like to talk in more detail with any of them or with the FCM staff. A reminder that the third webinar is happening on March 30th, it looks like, 1 p.m. And that will be about how to adapt green municipal projects to stand the test of time. So certainly a great opportunity to learn more about projects that have been funded through FCM. And finally, we are requesting that before you go, you complete a survey. Pop up, I believe, on your screen. And if you have questions about projects through the Green Municipal Fund, the link is also provided on the screen. And we encourage you to explore what projects might fit under that funding. All of the ones you've heard today and the Accelerate Kootenays one that I presented, of course, successfully funded through FCM. And as I mentioned, such an incredible opportunity to work with staff and really refine the project to maximize benefit for your communities. So appreciate that support. With that, I will say thank you, merci, and have a wonderful day, and hope that you can join for webinar 3. Thank you.